Today we have a guest with us. His name is Ridoy. Ridoy is a certified advanced drone operator and data processor. Ridoy has been working with Sequoia Advanced Equipments, which he owns, by the way. You're the proud owner of Sequoia.
Yes, I'm the proud owner of the Sequoia drone system.
Yeah, okay. And if I'm not wrong, what I know about you is that you're trying to improve general agriculture and how agriculture is seen, and you're trying to implement drone technology into it. How does that work, by the way?
So apparently, my company, we assist farmers with various agricultural tasks. There's a lot of tasks in agriculture, and we assist the farmer with a portion of it.
Okay, like what are some of the tasks that take place in agriculture that you guys hopefully assist with? How do you identify the problems I'm facing, and how do you solve my problems?
One of the challenges the farmers face is the efficient use of their time, money, and the equipments. And one of the area that I steps in is like crop scouting. So in crop scouting, farmers around BC, we operate on a large parcel of the land, and being it's like the parcel of the land being so big that it's very hard and labor intensive to scout the field. So that's where the Sequoia drone systems comes in. We assist the farmers with the scouting using our drone technology.
What is scouting, by the way? I don't understand.
Field scouting is more of a analyzing or watching or seeing the field, like what's going on your field. For example, when you have a parcel of land and let's say you farming wheat or tomatoes. So now in the field you'll have various problems like whether or not the fields are water stressed, if there is a infestation of pests, or if there is a disease. So like seeing those or documenting those problems.
How do farmers usually detect these things? Like,
normally like they do by human, and also there is a lot of equipments they traditionally use, but use of human labor and other traditional equipments is not efficient as using a simple drone.
Like for example, let's say I have a few acres of land and I scout it.
Okay.
How does that look like generally? Like, let's say there is no technology used, there is no drones. Other, like in a traditional sense, how would a guy scout?
In traditional sense, what you would do, you go to the field as yourselves and you see what's going on by walking the field, right?
Okay.
So you walk around the field, you see, okay, which portion of the land is not doing all right. If any of the portion is getting infected by a disease or a pest infestation, or some of the areas getting certain diseases. So farmers go to their field physically and they see what's going on and they document it. So that's called the field scouting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like generally a person would have to scout it himself, use his own eyes to see if there is a problem or not.
Yeah.
What else do farmers usually struggle with and takes a lot of time?
Farmers struggles is the various stuffs, but what we focus on, out of hundreds of struggle of farmers, right, we focus on maybe 3-4 problems that we can solve with the technology that we have available to us. And if we emphasize a little bit on the scouting, for example, let's say you have 100 acres of land, right? And you are planting potatoes, right? So now to go to the field and analyze the whole field as yourself, or let's say using a human, it's like you have to walk around 100 acres of land. That's a lot of time that you have to put on doing that. But at the same time, on the other hand, if we use drone to take aerial pictures of that field and analyze that field in a minute, or in 5-10 minutes of flight, I can cover 100 or 150 acres of land, and I can generate some reports what's going on the field. For example, if there is a water stress, if there is a pest infestation, or whether or not in the field the photosynthesis is not happening properly. So these are like visible signs that you can see on the field. Right. And when you fly the drone and you take pictures from aerial point of view, you can like kind of have a better sense of what's going on your field. How it is, so some of the drones is capable of detecting early water stress. because some of the drones take the pictures and that drone captures and produce some good insights that this area is water stress, this area is not water stress, and things like that, so that's where the like scouting steps in, and like as a method we use the drone to scout the field of 150 acres of land and produce that insight in like 10 minutes, right? So that's very efficient, where in traditional farming when you will do the scouting by yourself, it's going to take like 3-4 days for you to do. So yeah.
So what you're saying is, like, in a general type of scenario, one of the most important aspects of how you use drones to help farmers is with the scouting process. Because scouting takes farmers, from what I understand, it takes them quite a while, right?
Exactly.
And you reduce that quite a while into a few minutes, which is a huge time save. So you just highlighted the advantages that farmers might have or gain from using drones to scout their farms. Apart from scouting, what other benefits can using a drone help farmers with?
So another applications of my company is spraying, and spraying actually is our main service in terms of like going back to our 100 parcel land. If someone's doing a potato farmers in 100 acres of land, now spraying that land is very labor intensive. To spray on that land, either you need to have a spraying systems that you see kind of like big wheel kind of thing that rolls on the field and spray on the field, and another way of doing it is through the airplane. So there is a small spraying plane that you hire, and they comes in and they spray on the field. So now to spray on a field, to do that you need to be in a certain region where you have a smaller airport where the spraying plane can take off. But when we do the spraying through the drone, it's not that complicated. It's drone can easily lift up like 50 gallons of water, and it spray on the field, and even in a very inaccessible land we can go and spray on the field. Farmers face that spraying problem quite a lot around BC because it's very dry region, and to keep up with the spraying they often have to look into very costly solutions. We kind of use the drone to spray on the field, and it's almost 80% low cost compared to other traditional spraying method. So that's why it's like spraying with the drone is a really good application of the drone technology, and we are trying to implement that in BC farmers and around BC.
So compared to a normal plane, right? Since it's a drone, how much water can it hold? Because a plane would irrigate way more of a farmland than a drone, if I'm not wrong.
Actually, it's a very good question. So when we spray with the drone or traditional method, it actually can cover quite a bit of area, as the traditional plane can carry a huge amount of water. But what nowadays drone technology does, that is it has the geo reference where it's sprayed and how much land it needs to be sprayed. For example, let's say the traditional drone that is available in the market right now, they can only lift with 50 liters of water. So that's not a lot of waters or liquid solutions to spray on the field. So what drone does, let's say you create a geo fence of the field where you want to spray, then it takes off.
What's a geo field?
Any field that you see on the Google Maps. So when you need to fly a drone on a particular parcel of land, we create a map of that land first, right?
Okay.
So we draw a map for the drone, and drone automatically calculate that how much liquid that we need to spray on the field, and at the same time how fast it's gonna spray, and all those information comes up. It's pretty sophisticated nowadays, the all the equipment and technology. So when it lifts over the 50 liters of water, it sprays certain area, then it mark when it stops, then it comes back to you so that you can refill the drone again, and it goes back to the field, and it start from the last endpoint, then start spraying again. So it's kind of like a quite a back and forth, but at the same time, when you spray the field with traditional airplane, yes, it can cover a huge area at once, but at the same time, lifting that airplane, and you have to hire a pilot, there's a lot of cost involved. But with the drone or drone technology, yes, there is a lot of back and forth. You go to the field with the 50 liters of water, you spray, you come back, and you again go with the 50 liters of water, you go spray, come back, and that process is continuous. And it's compared to traditional spraying, it's 80% cost savings at the same time.
So even though it's refueling so much, or it's coming back again, back and forth, and it has to do that because it can't carry too much water. Even though it has to do all that, it's still 80% lower in cost compared to traditional.
Exactly. And I'll explain how it's 80% less cost effective, because let's say you have a traditional spraying plane. Now, plane covered 100 acres of land, right? And then it needs to go somewhere in the airport, land, refill itself up, and then again fly from that airport, come back to your field, and then spray. But with the drone technology, we call it the feeder system. We are spraying it just on site. A drone takes off with the 50 liters of water. It goes to the field, it spray, it gets empty, it comes back by the side of the land. We refill the drone again. So it's like very quick, very time efficient, and it also covers a huge amount of area in a very short period of time.
So does someone need to be present to supervise this while it's happening?
Yes, so that's where we focus on. We want to make sure that every flight that we do is legally binding. Every operator that we have, they're all certified with advanced drone pilot from Transport Canada. There is a little bit of legal obstacles that you have to jump out, but at the same time, we do have those solutions in place so that someone flying the drone has the advanced drone pilot license, at the same time proper training of how to spray on the field, because spraying on the field is not an easy task. So
that's the part you guys cover. You are there physically at a location, you make sure everything's taken care of, and that the drones are being operated with all the legal requirements that it needs.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're saying that spraying using drones saves farmers up to 80% of the cost of irrigation. That's actually very impressive. I wish more farmers knew about that, because it can save them a lot of money. In turn, maybe we could even have cheaper produce eventually. Yeah. So, apart from reducing the cost for farmers and spraying, are there any other advantages that using drones could bring to general agriculture?
So apparently another use case of the drone can be cattle monitoring. As you know, in interior, there are a lot of cattle farmers around our town and around BC. So as those fields or those parcels are really big and they have free range cattle, so they're roaming around. So sometimes having track of them is very hard. Let's say you have a big cattle farm with 50 cattle in it, and they're roaming around in 20 acres of land. So imagine you going into the field, walking and watching your cattle to see how they're doing in terms of health wise, because if you need to know that whether or not a cattle is sick or not sick, how do you do it? You go close to the cattle, you see it, you observe it, and you kind of make assumptions. And if you have any other equipment to, let's say, measure the body temperature, you do, then you record that information, right? So it's one of the tasks in cattle management. Now, there are some drones with thermal cameras in it, so it can record the cattle's body temperatures, and body temperature is a very important indication whether or not the cattle is all right or not all right. How do you know? Because if we are cold, we have higher body temperatures. There is 50 cattle in 100 acres of land. You're just flying the drone very close by. You also have to make reasonable distance so that the cattle doesn't get stressed, because when drone roaming on top of them, it's kind of scary, but at the same time you want to have a certain distance, and from the distance you can measure what is the body temperature of that cattle, right? And you can have that information and make assumptions what's going on with that cattle. So that's also can be done with the drone platform.
It's very impressive. So the drone can measure cattle's temperature.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And can it keep a track of cattle and things like that?
Yeah, exactly. So I think there is some sort of you do want to know how many cattle you have and what they are constantly. So
one of the prime reasons I would imagine a farmer would go out to check his cattle is also to count them, because
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
And can the drone do anything like that?
Yeah, of course. You can just fly the drone and it automatically counts, geotag the cattle as well. Let's say, for example, you have a cattle that has the body temperature lower than the normal range. So you also do want to know which cattle it is. So what you can do, you can geotag that cattle and have that information so that later on you can verify that is the cattle that I was working on. Okay. So you just record the geolocation of that cattle and have that information recorded, and later on to give the right treatment to the right cattle. So yeah, one of the way of counting the cattle.
So that's a lot of stuff that a drone does. What drone is it, by the way? What do you guys use?
So we use various drones, and one of the most popular drone maker is DJI, and most of the equipment that we use is from DJI. For example, the crop scouting that I was talking about earlier, that how we do scope scouting, and one of the tool that we use is the DJI Mavic 3M. It has amazing sensor in it, and with the combination of DJI Pilot 2 and Farm app, it's an amazing combination of two machines and softwares at the same time. So we use quite a bit of DJI equipment, and yeah, they're amazing.
Okay, that's really cool. What about these DJI equipments makes it best for farming and crops?
I think the most important part in the drone is the software in it. So you can also buy some equipments on Amazon, assemble a drone, you can fly it. But the main component, I think, in my personal is like the software. And DJI makes phenomenal softwares to fly it, to manage it, to on top of that, other apps like DJI Agriculture. It's an amazing platform to analyze and process your data to make insightful reports and stuff. So DJIs are the best drones out there.
Some of the best drones out there. DJI, okay.
Yeah,
Shout out to
exactly.
DJI, guys.
Yeah, of
They
course.
make some of the best drones out there. Well, thank you very much for elaborating about all these factors. So what I take from all of this is that using drones instead of traditional farming methods for agriculture would not only save farmers a lot of time, it would also save them cost. It would help them keep a better track of their cattle and crops.
Exactly.
That's very impressive. Is there a way to contact you and ask for your services? Because some people might want it.
I'll say it out loud. 250-879-6055 is my phone number.
Sequoia drone system.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me and asking a lot of interesting questions.